Kravitz. If you have not followed his Triple H horse racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.
Good evening. Great Race Plays is back. Episode 25 for 2025 right here on the HHH Racing Podcast. I'm your proud host, Howard Kravitz, along with co-hosts Paul Halloran and Ryan Anderson. Co-host Pete Bisco will also be with us throughout these shows on occasions, but he was not going to be here tonight. We also have a special guest that is waiting in the background. Welcome, all West Coast fans, especially if you're a fan of the Great Race Place, Santa Anita. We are very excited about the meet that is starting this Friday. Let me first break it down for everyone who's not familiar with the Great Race Plays. As Paul and Ryan, I've made the decision, we are live right now, not only on our YouTube channel, but back on our X handles, as well as the Santa Anita YouTube channel and the Santa Anita X handle as well. So we are seeing many places right now. Let me break it down for everyone on what's happening. Great Race Plays is a show right here on the HHH Racing Podcast dedicated to Santa Anita. And for this year, at least for the next few weeks, or for the fall meet, we're going to be focusing on the Saturday late pick three, the $3 late pick three, and the $3 all turf pick three. So we'll be covering a minimum of 3 races, most likely 4 or 5 races for the Saturday cards at Santa Anita. We are once again sponsored by Santa Anita. Thank you very much for that. We'll be talking about our sponsorship with Santa Anita throughout the show. It's usually about a half an hour show. We'll be going a little bit longer tonight because it is our first show. Paul and Ryan, before we bring on our special guest, how you guys doing? Paul, I know you just got back from a football game. We are very excited that you're here. Ryan, we're excited you're here. Santa Anita's back, gentlemen.
No, Howard, tomorrow night is football. Tomorrow night I might not get back. Tonight I did just get in the house 2 minutes ago from a client fundraiser. So
sorry about
long
that.
day.
All right.
That's all right. I'm good.
Ryan, we're back at Santa Anita. I know you were at Del Mar, working at Del Mar. Actually, Santa Anita, obviously much different atmosphere, different track right by the beautiful San Gabriel's. There's going to be a lot of interesting tidbits and interesting angles that I think we're going to find at this meet, especially the first few weeks when horses get reacclimated to the Great Race Place.
That's right. There's a couple different, parts of that track. The dirt's kind of the dirt, right? But on turf, there's definitely a lot of angles to go back into. For example, it's a lot easier to close at Del Mar than it tends to be at Santa Anita. You obviously have the 5 furlong only sprint distance at Santa Anita or at Del Mar, where, when you get back to Santa Anita, you have the 6, you have 6.5 on the flat, you have 5 on the flat, and then you have the 6.5 down the hill. So there's a lot of different factors to kind of get into as you transition back to Santa Anita. But I'm happy we're back at the Great Race Place doing the Great Race Plays. And it's an excellent weekend card, Saturday, Sunday.
Oh, yeah. We are excited. And Breeders' Cup is right around the corner. So let me tell everyone what we're doing with our sponsorship, and then I'm going to bring on our guest who's actually waiting in the green room once his wonderful family took care of some stuff behind the scenes as he's laughing. We got to get his little guy on the show at some point. I'm sure he'd love to do that. Would be a lot of fun if our guest brought his little one on the show. Little one being a human, by the way, not an animal. Anyway, here's what's happening with Santa Anita. We are doing this show. We're going to be covering Santa Anita races to some extent on Weekend Warriors, which, by the way, is a live Saturday show. Let me bring that up right now. There it is, the bottom of the screen. Ryan is hosting there this week, 2:30 Eastern, live coverage from Churchill, Belmont at Aqueduct, Santa Anita, much more. A lot of Breeders' Cup prep races. And Noah Maher will be live on site at Churchill Downs as well to cover those races. So we're very excited about that. Also, let me show everyone very quickly. Actually, let me bring on my guest right now, because my guest has someone very special on the screen. Our guest tonight, and we're not always going to have a guest, but we have to have a special guest tonight as our first show for the fall meet at Great Race Plays from DRF and Santa Anita with his son, it looks like, Gino Picola. Hey, how you doing, Gino?
What do you say? Hi, Milo. Milo, this is my son Milo. We just started kindergarten. We're in week 3 of kindergarten. Wow. So he's out in the real world now. And today he had a soccer practice and tomorrow a gymnastics. So he got involved now in a couple different events. So yeah, come and say high five. Give everybody good luck.
High five, Gino, through the camera.
Who does he like in the turf pick 3, Gino? Forget the gymnastics, okay?
The only problem that I have with Milo, guys, is that he always likes the 5. And I got to tell him that sometimes Daddy doesn't need the 5. Sometimes we need the 3 or we need the 7. But when it comes down to Milo, every race he says, oh, there's my horse, the 5. So doesn't matter where, doesn't matter what race, he's probably on the 5.
Well, there's got to be some background there, right? Why the 5, Gino?
Well, now he's 5 years old. So that's like he thinks, we'll go with his age. Maybe next year we'll move all into 6s. But Howard, thanks so much for inviting me to join you. I'm so excited to talk about Santa Anita any chance I get. My mom and dad met each other at Santa Anita. So I was literally bred there at Santa Anita as they met each other years back. And I grew up right down the street. And what I love as a bettor, we have some new wagers, and we have some of these low takeout wagers, higher minimum wagers. You pointed out the $3 pick 3. What's cool, too, is they've included the Sunset Pick 6. That will be the last 3 races of every Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then the last 3 races from Gulfstream. So last 3 from Santa Anita, last 3 from Gulfstream. It's a $1 a base pick 6, 15% takeout, and just like the Coast to Coast pick 5, retail only. So none of those big players, those CAW wagers that we all, don't really have a chance against as, smaller players. I love the Sunset Pick 6. We're going to talk about the 3 late races for Saturday. Coast to Coast Pick 5 is a great wager. They also have some free stuff too, like Showviver and like the Pick'em contest. If you're a fan of football and other sports, every Saturday and Sunday, you can enter those contests for free, win $500. So Santa Anita really does it up, Howard. It's a short meet, but they got a lot coming up in the next 5 weeks.
Oh, it's huge. $3 late pick 3 we're covering on this show. $3 all turf pick 3 we're covering on this show. They've got 15% takeout. They've got pick 5s, pick 4s, like anything you could possibly want. The $2 pick 6 for you traditional pick 6 players, the $2 traditional pick 6. And also, as I bring on the screen here, part of our sponsorship with Santa Anita, yours truly is on the website. I want to show this for people that are interested. If you just go to the website, I'll go full screen, and you go under the wagering menu there. Under wagering, there's expert picks, and I am fortunate enough to be on there. If you scroll down, up there it is. So you click on there, and you'll see my picks on there as well. Again, that is under the wagering menu there on the top. So thank you, Santa Anita, for allowing me to be as one of their experts. I don't know if I'm an expert, but I do appreciate that. I'd like to think I have some pretty good opinions, along with some very esteemed colleagues of mine. So you can find me on the Santa Anita website. We're going to be doing this show. We're going to be doing stuff with DRF and Gino. We're a big fan and supporters of DRF. They've been our main go-to tool for coming. We're coming up on 5 years, Gino, this podcast. We're also coming up, Gino, on almost 1 million views on this podcast since we started. Really proud of that as well. And it wouldn't be possible without people like Paul and Ryan and everyone else. Let's get into, I just asked Ryan a quick question, Gino. I want to go back to, I want to ask you the same question, and then we'll get Paul's opinion and get into the races. Santa Anita, obviously very different than Del Mar. Any angles that you're going to look for as horses that are coming from the beautiful beaches of Del Mar to the beautiful San Gabriel Mountains of Santa Anita?
I think Ryan was mentioning something that's really interesting. Definitely pay attention to the turf courses, especially in the sprints, right? Because there are horses that are 5 furlong turf horses that probably ran really well at Del Mar, and they might run well again at Del Mar come Breeders' Cup time or some of those big races. Maybe they don't run as well, though, this weekend or in the meet at Santa Anita if they're going 6.5 down the hill, because that plays more like a mile, like some of those Kentucky Downs turf courses where it plays kinder to horses cutting back. So I'm going to look at a couple horses this week that I think might be shortish prices or maybe a little overvalued, and they may not be as good coming down the hill as they were sprinting 5 furlongs at Del Mar.
Absolutely. Let's take care of a few items also. You can listen to us at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. I'm sure we have plenty of new viewers. For those of you, again, not familiar with the HHH Racing Podcast, you go to YouTube, just type in HHH Racing Podcast in the search bar. We are available on listening platforms. You can follow us on X at HHH Racing Pod. So please make sure you hit that subscribe button, the bottom right-hand side of the screen, notification bell on the top right, and smash that like button below the video player. If you're watching on YouTube, we really appreciate, if you're watching on X right now, we'd love for you to switch over to YouTube and you can check us out. We mentioned already Weekend Warriors coming up this Saturday, our live show. Ryan is hosting at 2:30. And there's our website, hhhracingpodcast.com at the bottom of the screen. One more item, guys. We'll get into the races. We've got a fantastic tip sheet called a Power Picks tip sheet. 4 years running, well over $2 ROI. Look below the video player on YouTube for information about our Power Picks tip sheet. You can purchase that Saturdays only. It's for Saturdays through Patreon. And one last item I do have to mention is we have Keeneland only Power Pick tip sheet. I know it's a Santa Anita show, but you see on the top right there, right next to Paul on the top right of the screen is a QR code. If you go ahead and take your camera and click on that, you can find about our Keeneland only Power Picks tip sheet. All right, lot to talk about, Paul. We got downhill races to talk about. I love the down the hill. That last race on Saturday is one heck of a race that we're going to be talking about. Let's get into it, guys. We're going to be covering again late turf pick 3 and the late pick 3, both $3 base bets. We're going to start with race 6, ladies and gentlemen. There are some serious Breeders' Cup preps / win in your ins, and here's one right here. It's the John Henry Turf Championship. It is a grade 2. They're going 1.25 miles. They start down the hill, $200,000, a field of 7. Some very popular names in here, including the incredible winner at Del Mar again of their handicap, Gold Phoenix, with the high weight of 126 for D'Amato and Rispoli, 3-2. Let's go ahead with our picks right now on the screen as I get those up. Give me 1 second, please. There they are right there. Okay. I am going 6-5-7. Gino's going 6-7-3. Paul's going 7-5-6, and Ryan is going 6-1-5. So 3 of the 4 of us are going to number 6, Stay Hot, for Urton and Smith. Gino, that is where you're going to kick off our show.
Yeah, I think it, to me, on paper, is a 2-horse race between Stay Hot and Gold Phoenix. The two of them were separated right on the wire. They both ran really well on August the 30th in the Del Mar handicap. As someone who backed Stay Hot that day, I was hoping that Stay Hot would have gotten a little bit more of a jump on Gold Phoenix in the race. And that didn't happen. And I think that may have been the difference between winning and finishing second. Because if you were playing Stay Hot, I would like to get maybe like a length jump. We'll see, just not that much of an advantage. They're kind of sitting right next to each other. Saving ground on the inside is Stay Hot. And then you've got on the outside, the 11 Gold Phoenix. So they're really close to each other, Howard. I'm hoping that Stay Hot can just get the jump. And even if not, if these 2 horses are the 2 to beat, and one of them is maybe double the price of the other, I'm always going to look at the horse who I think is evenly matched and is going to offer us a little bit more value. So I think you'll get a better price here, and hopefully we can get a slightly different trip with Stay Hot, who's just in really good form. 3 nice races this year, no knocks at all.
No, and you know what? I had a big bet on Attila in this race, Ryan, as I think you know. I didn't really notice the steady. Do you guys see the steady here from Stay Hot? There was a steady on the 4 Stay Hot. If you want right there, Ryan, he did check and lost a few lengths. Meanwhile, Gold Phoenix is outside of him. He's just so darn game, Ryan.
Yeah, he is. And yeah, this race was, honestly, it's a good comparison to what we were talking about at the start of the show, where, Del Mar and Santa Anita plays a little bit different. This race, Gold Phoenix, he is a different animal when he's at Del Mar. I think he's 5 for 7, not including Breeders' Cup races. And the steady by Stay Hot, that played a little bit of a factor into why I ended up picking him today. But ultimately it was because I think Stay Hot has proven he's a lot better at Santa Anita. And he's kind of back on his home turf. So I think that's why I want him to kind of turn the tables on Gold Phoenix in this spot.
Yeah, and the other thing we got to mention, guys, about Gold Phoenix, I mean, this has happened several times. He runs a massive race in the Del Mar handicap and then regresses in this race. It's happened for several years in a row, and then he'll run a out of nowhere great 4th in the Breeders' Cup Turf at like 5,001, right, Gino? I mean, that's exactly what this horse does. I'm totally against Gold Phoenix on the win end on Saturday, not because he's not talented, not because he's not capable of winning. They just don't point to this race. Go ahead, Ryan. You want to say something?
I was just going to say, I don't know if it's as much of a regression as it is as just a stepping stone. Like he's obviously primed for the Del Mar handicap, and then this is basically just to bridge that gap because he needs to go somewhere.
Yeah. Paul, you argued with Gold Phoenix. I wonder if the distance really helped Gold Phoenix, Paul. I have a gut feel that extra an eighth of a mile that Stay Hot had to get at Del Mar ended up costing him. I think the downhill mile and a quarter is going to work better for Stay Hot, but you're going to stick with Gold Phoenix, who's won over $2 million, Paul. What an incredible training job by Phil D'Amato.
Yeah, well, he's not the only turf horse you'd say that about on the West Coast. Phil is terrific. Yeah, I think I hear what you're saying with the distance, but this is still a 10 furlong race. I thought he beat the Stay Hot fair and square last time. If we're being honest, if we're talking about a turf route in 2025, I thought Pratt was a huge advantage over Mike Smith, and I think Rispoli is a market advantage over Mike Smith. And Mike Smith's great. He's a Hall of Famer. He's not the jockey in 2025 he was in 2015 or 2020. So I hear what Gino says. I certainly think that one of these is going to be likely your winner. Although I thought the five had a pretty good look in here too. But I'll be the uncreative one and stick with Gold Phoenix. He still has those 3 triple-digit numbers to run back to, and I see how Stay Hot obviously is progressing as a 4-year-old, and you're expecting him to go up into triple-digit land, and that is a extremely reasonable expectation.
Yeah, look, I mean, Mikey is a Hall of Famer, but I'm not a huge fan of his going long, but he knows this horse well, Gino. So I think that's a feather in his cap. And then you mentioned Mondego. It was more of a clunk up. I know he only lost by a length and a quarter. I just have a feeling he's improving. I mean, he's only 5. I think he's still learning. I love Kimura, Gino. I know you have him out of the money. Paul, you've got him second. I've got him second. I mean, is he as good as Gold Phoenix? Obviously not. But in this particular situation, on a day when Gold Phoenix does not have to win at all, I'll take a little fly with Mondego in for second.
Do you want a different kind of trip? Because he is a horse that used to have a little more positional speed that could get involved in races early on. Yeah. Would you I think if you're trying to beat some horses that may be a little classier than you, I would like to see those tactics for him. Maybe try to get involved in the race a little bit more and get the jump on Gold Phoenix instead of trying to come and run him down late.
Yeah, I agree with that. The only problem with that thought is Balladeer is pretty fast.
Yeah.
Rasamon Vibe, actually, he's not quick. There's another speed in the race. What am I? Who's the other speed? I'm drawing a blank. No, I guess not really. But yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing Mondego sitting off of Balladeer and maybe get first jump. But it seems like McCarthy has been trying to, change his tactics, to come from behind. So we shall see, guys. It's going to be a fun race. I'm against Gold Phoenix on Saturday. Paul is not. Actually, 3 of us are going to go with Stay Hot. Only a 4-year-old, though, as well as Ryan mentioned. Let's go ahead on to the next race we're covering. Now, again, ladies and gentlemen, as I put us on full screen, that is, hold on one second, everyone. There we go. So that's the start of the $3 All-Turf Pick 3. We're going to cover all 3 of the last 3 turf races, and we're also covering the last 3 races on the card. Obviously, if there's a turf race, ladies and gentlemen, that is part of the last 3 races on the card, obviously that is a race that covers both of our $3 pick 3 all turf and $3 pick 3 at the end. That's not turf, just the last 3 races of the day. Let's go to race 8, guys. Race 8 is I'm going to go ahead and bring it on screen right now. Race 8 is the Eddie D. It is named after Eddie Delahousie, I'm assuming. Grade 2, down the hill, 6.5 furlongs, 200,000. I guess you could say this is a prep for the Breeders' Cup Sprint, but it's not a win and you're in, and I have a hard time believing most of these horses or any of them will even go to the 5 furlong Breeders' Cup Sprint. But it's a very nice race. Moyline favors the number 1 Reef Runner for David Fox and Paco. It's not going to be Paco because that suspension, Paul's already started, correct, guys? So
that is correct. Paco will. You'll need a new jockey for Paco. He will not have to travel west.
All right.
He gave a great ride on this horse too last time. Like for this horse to cross the wire first, it was a brutal DQ. But Howard, this was one of the horses I was kind of talking about because if he takes a lot of money in here, this is a straight 5 furlong horse. I mean, he just doesn't have any races going longer than 5 furlongs. You look, his first 2 starts were 6.5 and 7 furlongs on the dirt. Since then, everything is 5 and 5.5. and all of his success is really at 5 furlongs. So he, to me, is a horse that I would play back at Del Mar again at 5 furlongs, but not coming down the hill. So if he takes money and he ends up being favored, I'm against him in here, especially from the rail too. The rail's kind of a tricky spot down the hill as well. So this would be a horse in the late sequence that I'm going to be going against, who I think might be a shortish price.
Well, look at the bottom of the screen, Gino. I'm going 8-4-5. You're going 2-8-6. Paul's going 5-6. Reef Runner in third. Ryan also does not have Reef Runner in there. 2-6-8. This is a major underlay for me. I think he's going to be over bet. I agree with everything you said, Gino. I don't care who's riding him, whether it was even if it was Pratt or Rispoli, whoever it's going to be. I'm against him for all the reasons you said. Ryan, do you think he should have been DQ'd? By the way, as we were live, you were at Del Mar.
I was on the track, yeah.
Yeah, we were live, Gino, on Weekend Warriors, and that was quite the event because he was 19-1. And of course, the winner ended up being victorious at 9-5, I believe. But Ryan, actually, Paul, let's go to you. You have him third. You're not worried as much about the distance. You just think he's that talented and can be a factor here.
Well, I mean, someone's got to run third. I kind of agree with Gino. I'm not. I won't. He's not on my ticket for any of the horizontals, but I think he possibly could run third, but I clearly like the horses I picked first and second. I like appreciably better.
Yeah, he was a new gelding, by the way, too, back, and Reef Runner has definitely improved since then. Let's go with our top picks. Gino is our guest. I'm gonna have you go first. You're on the Naso's Las Farah, very interesting horse here. This horse is 92 morning line, ran a 90 buyer last time. Only a 4-year-old. This is a sharp Azteca colt out of a Roman ruler dam. Very fascinating. Gets Barrios. Is sort of the fresh face here and the new shooter of the group, turning back. I know you like turnbacks down the hill, as do I, but he's never been down the hill, I don't believe, correct?
No. And he just looks like on paper the type of horse who will relish it. He really does, because he's got really nice range from the 6 furlong races, even a short, like a third where he was a little bit short going 5 furlongs, but he's stretched it all the way out to a mile. I love that 2 starts back at on July 6th at Los Alamitos on the dirt. He actually showed us he could sit off the pace a little bit if need be. Lost to a horse that came right back to win their next start, see through it with a 96 buyer next time out at Del Mar. So I think he's coming out of some live races. He has speed, but he doesn't need the lead. He can sit off a little bit. This horse is 11 for 13 overall in the money. He's won 5 of his last 8 with 2 seconds and a third. He is just in rock solid form right now. I think he makes a lot of sense, fits really well. What is great about this race from a gambling standpoint, Howard, there might be 4 different horses that I actually would be thinking about betting at their price on the win end. I mean, I think a horse like Nestos Last Hurrah, I like at that price. To the outside first piece, second start back, that horse could be playable. Beyond Brilliant, who is a grade 1 winner and a multiple graded stakes winner. He's a horse who didn't want to go 5. That's too short for him. 6.5 will be much better for him. He was flying up the rail behind Reef Runner last time out. If any of those horses are about their morning lines, they all look really interesting, really playable. They're going to be in that like 4 to 1-ish price range. So yeah, I wouldn't be shocked at all for Nesso's Last Hurrah, my top 3, Beyond Brilliant, and even to the outside first piece. I think Yellow Card is the one to beat that I feel like is the most safe of the shorter prices, but seems like a really fun race to dive into.
No doubt about it. You got a love for Beyond Brilliant, Ryan, as you have him second, as you tipped him out as a possible long shot candidate, not only on our show here, but also on your show, The Gallop Out. I believe you tipped him out also on FanDuel's X handle, and he finished third at 47-1. What do you think his chances are here? He's stretching back out. He's already 7 years old, but he obviously still has something left in him.
Yeah, who says you can't teach an old horse new tricks? I mean, they cut this horse back to 5 furlongs after going significantly longer for the rest of the previous parts of his career, and he ran really well going the 5, which to Gino's point is not what he wants to do. I think 6.5 brings him into the race a little bit more, and I think he showed a pretty good turn for home and closing kick last time out at Del Mar, and I think that could translate really well to the 6.5 going down the hill. It's going to be his first time making that journey, but he's gone down it before in the 1.25 mile Whittingham not last year, but April of 2022. So he knows that course. He's just not, going to be used to the finish line coming up so soon. But Ricky had a really nice Del Mar meet, especially on the grass. So he's 100% going to be on my tickets, and I hope to see Beyond Brilliant back in the winner's circle.
Paul, you have yellow card on top. I like this horse also. I've gotten third. This is only a 4-year-old. Kimura seems to be improving, does stretch back out, but ran big in the Franklin Simpson Stakes, which was a grade 1 over the hills and valleys of Kentucky Downs. Obviously, this horse can handle the distance. Again, first time down the hill. That is something to be slightly concerned about, but he's in really good form for McCarthy.
Yeah, I was listening to Gino talk about the horses coming out of Del Mar, and I agree with that in principle. It's not unlike horses going from Saratoga back downstate to now Aqueduct, or vice versa, going up to Saratoga. The sprints at Saratoga and the turf, there are no 6 or 6.5. There are only 5 and 5.5. And when they go back down state, they stretch out to 6, 6.5, 7. Same deal here. But as you bring out, Howard, that race at Kentucky Downs at 6.5, which is probably equivalent to 7.5 in other places, that was a big effort. Howard Wallowitz is a really a solid horse. So that to me mitigates coming out of the Del Mar races, even though that was last year. I'd have more concern about the hill itself first time than I would about the distance, because I thought he ran really well in that Kentucky Downs race.
No, I thought he did for sure. By the way, guys, we have literally hundreds of people watching right now on the Santa Anita X channel. If you're watching, host Howard Kravitz, Paul Halloran, Gino Picola, Ryan Anderson. This is the HHH Racing Podcast. This show is called Great Race Plays, dubbed by our journalist over there, Paul Halloran, as we look at the All-Turf Pick 3 and the Standard Lake Pick 3 on Saturdays on this show. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor, and you can follow us at HHH Racing Pod. Again, at HHH Racing Pod. Please make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification bell on our YouTube channel. We have shows all week long, ladies and gentlemen. If you're new to the HHH Racing Podcast, we have live shows Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and this Saturday, Weekend Warriors, starting at 2:30 Eastern, with live racing from all over the country in real time. Please check it out. All right, let me go back to this race, guys. Here's my opinion of this race right here. I really like the 8 a lot. I like First Piece a lot. I thought, guys, the green flash obviously was weird. Right?
It's a total prep, though, right, Howard? I mean, for him, too, right? It's just kind of shake off the rust. He's coming off of 11 months. They don't really mind where he finishes, because he's going to come back to Santa Anita, be way better down the hill.
Well, not only was it a prep, perhaps, but I mean, that was a weirdly run race. Reef runner, Paco clearly came over. I don't want to rehash history. I think it's pretty obvious if you're unbiased. Paco came over, and this horse right here, First Piece, was one of the horses that was to his inside. Actually, I think it was the horse just to his inside that absolutely got bothered. He ran on, it says 11th, when he lost by 4. I got to tell you, after the start, he had no shot. No shot whatsoever. This horse loves the down the hill. He was really good last year. Unless he just can't run anymore. He's got a great post here. Obviously, Smith knows him. I trust Glatt. He's got several good works since. And I got to be honest, guys, I think he's, I don't want to say by far, I think he's clearly the horse to beat if he comes back to his races last year. And I got to be honest, Gino, I see no reason why not. Now, He's only 5. I think he's going to run a big race. He can stalk and pounce. I'm expecting a huge effort from yellow card too, but mainly from First Piece. I also want to mention quickly Sorrento Sky here, guys. Again, another 4-year-old for D'Amato, who's been going 5 furlongs, but did go down the hill last year in the San Simeon. Okay, only got an 84, but finished 3rd to Air Force Red and up Lovesick Blues. You know that horse, Ryan, who he finished
best sprinter in the country.
3rd. I think he's going to improve. Again, he's only a 4-year-old. 5-1 on Sorrento Sky, Gino, in a race that's wide open. I know you don't have him in your top 3. I think he's a must-use here. I've got him 2nd.
Yeah, those two, both of them like the downhill. The two of them, I prefer First Piece a little bit. I thought Sorrento Sky didn't really have as much of an excuse in that race last time out, but maybe he just likes the downhill better versus First Piece, who all 6 of his races down the hill, he's finished in the top 2. I think he was actually like a slight favorite on the morning line in his last race off the long layoff, and he went way up and floated up because it just on paper didn't look like that was the race for him. This is the one for him. I agree. Yep. Somebody in this race is going to be forgotten about because there's like 3 or 4 horses who all should be in that same kind of range, and that might be the horse who you want to play to win in this race or maybe key in on if there's some value.
Gino, if First Piece is 9-2 at post time like he's in the morning line, as Ryan, what do the younger guys say on their show? An unreasonable
irresponsible win bet.
An irresponsible wager, Gino, might be coming in. If First Piece is 9-2, all in, baby, right away.
Push them all in. Let's do it.
What is he going to be, Gino? Probably more like 3-1, right?
Yeah, I think 7-2 feels good because I do think I think Reef Runner floats up a little bit, but I feel like between First Piece, Yellow Card, Beyond Brilliant should take a little bit of money in there. I think Nesso's Last Hurrah is going to take some money. So you might have 5 horses all in the like 3-1 to 6-1 range. And that's where one of those horses kind of falls through the cracks. And if it is First Piece, that's a horse who could offer us some really nice value, Howard.
Very interesting. That is the second leg of the All-Turf Pick 3, and it's the first leg of the late Pick 3. Just want to keep that in touch with everyone. Speaking of the bets we talked about, let's very quickly have a little quick ad here about our Turf Pick 3 at Santa Anita. 15% takeout. It is one hell of a bet. Let's take a look at the All-Turf Pick 3 starting at Santa Anita this weekend.
Play the Santa Anita All-Turf Pick 3. The last 3 turf races on the card. $3 minimum. Player-friendly 15% takeout. Every race day at Santa Anita Park.
All right, there you go. Information on the All-Turf Pick 3. Let's go to the Goodwood. This is a prep. It's a grade 1, and this is a... Is this a win in you're in, guys? I believe it is. I should know that, but I believe it is, correct? This is a win in you're in for the Breeders' Cup Classic. It's a grade 1. It's race 9, 5:08, West Coast time on Saturday. Mile and eighth, $300,000, and a really interesting field of 7 with a lot of early speed in here. The Moorline favorite and pretty heavy one is the number 4, First Mission, the only East Coast invader in the race for Cox. It says Paco. It's not going to be Paco. Baffert has 3 in here, Gaming, Privman, and Nevada Beach. You also got Full Serrano, the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile winner from last year. This race is really fascinating, especially for only being a 7-horse field. Let's take a look at it. I'm going 4-7-5. Gino's going 5-4-7. Paul's going 4-7-1, and Ryan is going 7-4-6. So 2 of us are going with First Mission. Ryan's going Full Serrano. Gino is going Nevada Beach. Gino, let's go with you. Nevada Beach. Very interesting horse. Only 3-year-old. 12-1 in the morning line. 1 of 3 for Baffert. I love the stride this horse has. I watched a workout, which I'll comment on after you talk about this horse. Major future for Nevada Beach. Is the future Saturday, though, for this one? You're muted, Gino.
So it's almost like I've never done one of these before, Howard. The 4 and the 7 are definitely the top tier because First Mission is the most accomplished horse. Full Serrano is the horse who's the fastest, and he might be like the most brilliant in the race. I think it's a really nice spot for Brad Cox to ship First Mission out here. But I'm going to go to Nevada Beach as a horse who I actually have no problem with the mile and eighth distance. Lightly raced horse. Has won 2 of the 3 races. The one that he lost was in the Affirmed. It was a field of 4. Gaming got out front, and that's just the way the race went in a race where there was absolutely no speed. I'm not sure if that's going to happen in here because I think one of the 3 Bafferts is going to want to try to get towards the front end and make life a little difficult for Full Serrano on the outside. Full Serrano might just be faster and might just be better and run away from them and hide. But if we get one of the Baffert horses, whether it's Privman, maybe it's Gaming, holding that position down on the inside, I think it's one of those 2. And this race starts to heat up and it's a fair and honest pace. I actually like Nevada Beach as a horse who has no problem with distance, consider a really nice trip, lightly raced with upside. And Howard, I think you're referencing a work where he was working with another horse in this race. Is that the one you saw?
Yep. And can you tell everyone real quick, Gino, For those people who are not too familiar with the DRF product, what we're looking at here on the screen.
This is the pace projector. So if you purchase the Timeform US past performances or the All Access past performances, this is a great tool. I honestly, Howard, I think every single race I click on this just to see what they think. And a lot of times I may look at it a little bit differently, but it's a really nice tool to reference and say, this is how fast they think the race is going to set up with full Serrano out front, Privman in second, and then you have horses probably a couple lengths behind in that third tier with Gaming and with First Mission. So if you click on that Timeform US section, you can go right there and look at the pace projector for every race that there are past performances at any tracks.
Gino, they've got Nevada Beach in last. I just have a hard time believing he's going to be in last. I love the pace projector, and I think Timeform and Crown Wachowski does an amazing job. It doesn't feel like this horse is going to be in last, though, to me.
No, really. I agree with you. And I think Express Train is a horse who's a little bit more of a grinder. Ultimate Gamble, I wouldn't be shocked if they take back a little bit too. I think you're going to get more of like a mid-pack trip from Nevada Beach. And that's what I'm hoping in here for a lightly raced horse with some upside and a horse who I think could get a little bit of a trip if things go, a little crazy up front. Because First Mission, Full Serrano, will probably be the horses that everybody has on their late pick threes and in some of their late exotics. I think if you can get around one of those two, that's where you could really open this race up. And maybe it's Nevada Beach, who might be the third choice of the Bafferts in here.
Yep, and that work I was referencing was with Privman. He recently worked with Privman. I got to tell you, I thought he clearly outworked Privman.
Agreed.
This is a big – Nevada Beach is a big boy. He's an Omaha Beach of a Yes It's True mare. I think the sky's the limit for this horse. It's a big ask, though, Gino, for him on Saturday. But I'm fascinated to see what this horse does, at least going forward. Paul, let's go to you. Paul, you and I are going to chalk out with the Midwest Invader First Mission. You and I have been a big fan of this horse for actually quite a while, if I recall, way back when he was just becoming really good. He's not always consistent, to be honest. But, Paul, he's got numbers that just are better than these. I think Cox is sending him out here for one reason, Paul, and that is he wants to get him acclimated to the West Coast because he thinks he's talented enough to compete in the Breeders' Cup Classic. There's really no other reason why he'd send him out here otherwise when he could run, at Churchill or he could run in the Woodward in New York. I mean, there's a lot of places that he can go. Instead, he's sending him all the way out here. I think he's clearly the one to beat no matter who's riding.
Yeah, Howard, I've been a fan all the way back to the last line on the 12-line PPs, the Lexington on April 15th at 23. That race was part of a contest that day. So I've certainly been a fan.
Both of us. I was right next to you, my friend, that day.
Yes, you were. Very consistent. The last race was interesting. I watched that race. I actually wrote about that race for Mid-Atlantic Thoroughbred, and Surface to Air just kind of came and got them. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with the jockey here. If Brad, as you said, there's big cards all over the place, so that'll be interesting. But that race two back, the Foster, Mindframe and Sierra Leone. I mean, that's a winning race. He wins the race before that. Banishing's in really good form, missed by a head to him and Alexander Helios. I like the fact, Howard, that this horse has traveled successfully, albeit not this far. But if you look at the PPs, Oaklawn, Churchill, Saratoga, Monmouth. So, I agree with you. I think this is clearly – do we stay out west and compete in the big one? And I think he's going to have to look, I think any Godolphin horse is going to have to look pretty good to compete in the big one because they're going to have a pretty formidable horse in there. So I will happily chalk out with First Mission.
Well, what I like him the most, Ryan, Gino, is I think he's better actually rating off. I think he's better with the target. Last time, I don't want to be too harsh, but Drew just got totally surprised and bamboozled by Surface to Air. I didn't really even see him coming. And that race just was weird. And I don't like the ride at all. And, to be honest, but Ryan, I think this horse is better actually, like three back in the Oaklawn when he can actually sit off or in the Razorback. And there's plenty of early speed here. So if he can handle the surface, Ryan, I think he's going to be very tough. But you're going to go with Full Serrano, who he might have to run down. Now, Full Serrano is really important here, Ryan, for a lot of reasons. we all know his talent. But right now in the Breeders' Cup Classic, I don't know if you agree with this, Ryan. There's not a lot of like blazing early speed in there right now. If Full Serrano, if Sadler and JJ, if they win this race, or even if they don't and they decide to go to the Classic, to me that is a major pace factor in the Classic that's not there right now. Whether you think he's talented enough to win, so I think this race, if he runs well and shows that he still has that kind of higher level ability, not only is important for this race, but for the Classic as well.
I completely agree. I wonder where the Sadler camp and Horonis Racing kind of sit on Full Serrano. I wonder if I think this might just be, let's see if he can get the 9 the way he's gotten the 8 furlongs. And if he does, then yeah, they'll probably go straight into the Classic. But if not, the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile, he ran a fantastic race in there. You can argue maybe it wasn't the strongest edition of that race, but it was still, he ran a great race. He won the race, which matters, and he won it pretty convincingly. So I'm curious the best distance for him, but I do think on Saturday, I think he's the clear speed of the speed. And I got to watch him from the rail in that 5-horse allowance race last time out. And again, he wasn't facing anyone of consequence in there, but the way that he won that race, it was in hand. He was under full. He had so much more left in the tank. I don't think 9 furlongs is going to be an issue whatsoever. So I fully expect him to kind of get loose on the lead here and take them all the way around. None of the Baffords particularly, worry me, except Nevada Beach is the one that is most interesting to me. Just because, again, he's pretty lightly raced, so you have a bit of an unknown. But
well, I got a feeling. Here's my gut feel, Gino. I think Priven is a dead send. I think Priven is absolutely going. I don't think Gaming is a dead send because I think the Baffords don't want to hook up with each other. I think Gaming might sit a little bit. I think Priven is a dead send. I don't know if Full Serrano is loose. And by the way, you're talking about the distance, Ryan. Geez, he almost got 10 furlongs in the Pacific Classic last year, losing to Mixto. That wasn't exactly the strongest.
That was not the strongest.
No, but he still got 100 buyer going 10 furlongs. So, Gino, is this horse loose? And does he need to be loose to win? You've got him third. Up. There we go, Gino. That's strike 2 for Gino.
One more and I'm off the show. He did it. He did it really easily, and he is so quick. What I actually liked is that he came right back to work 13 days later, right? So that took nothing out of him. As Ryan was saying, it was a field he's supposed to be. Yeah. He just cruised right by them. I love the outside draw. I think he's going to definitely be the horse to catch and beat. And the race that really impressed me was the Pacific Classic. I mean, the first race in the country last year was that race when nobody really knew what to do with him. He down on the inside and he just kept going at a mile. This horse is like really, really fast and he can keep going. I'm not going to leave him out of any sort of the late multis in here. I think he is an absolute, logical top tier contender, but I do hope that it's Privman, as you're pointing out, because Privman is a little quirky. Howard, he's a horse who has had some problems lugging in. He's definitely still green. So I wonder with him if they want to maybe get him out in front instead of trying to kind of sit off horses where that hasn't worked as well for him, where he's gotten a little green changing leads. This
is a really tough spot. I have a straight feeling that Privman is in there to set up for Nevada Beach. I don't want to be disrespectful, of any horse here. But, Bob's top contender, Paul, right now in the Classic, I suppose is goal-oriented. This is a race, he'd love to win, and he doesn't really have any monsters right now in the Classic. I think he's hoping it's one of these horses that's developing, coming out of this race. It's not going to be Gaming, but he wants to win the race, but he doesn't really have the horse. I'm guessing, total guess, maybe more, Gino and Ryan, you guys are out there on the West Coast, that if Nisos goes to the Breeders' Cup, it's going to be in the mile. That's my opinion.
He mentioned even the sprint. I think it'll be shorter. It'll be one of those two for sure.
Yeah, my point is I don't see him going in the Classic. He's never going to be on a mile 16th, and now he's coming off of a foot issue, and I just don't see it. So, Ryan, do you think that Bob's trying to get a Breeders' Cup Classic horse out of this race with one of these three, or he's just it's a grade 1 and it's in his backyard, so why not?
I think we all know the main goal of the horse that he wanted was Nisos in here, and that didn't end up happening. I'm curious why Miramati wasn't in this race. This feels like the type of race where I'd expect to see him. But yeah, he kind of went with his next string of runners with Privman, Nevada Beach, and Gaming, just to maybe see if one of them can step up. I agree. The only one that I really respect out of the three is Nevada Beach, because he's so lightly raced. We don't really know what he is yet, and he seems to be getting better. Gino made a good point. Privman's an absolute goofball, but he's got talent. And I think for Full Serrano, maybe Privman is a dead send out of there, but I think Full Serrano's shown that he can kind of sit behind runners if need be. So the outside post, if anything, is going to help him in that situation as well. So
I agree.
Yeah,
Paul, real quick, we'll get on the last race. If you were a Sadler and the connections of Full Serrano, let's say they run well Paul Saturday, win, lose, whatever. I just have a hard time believing they're going to go back to the Breeders' Cup Mile where they've won it already. Wouldn't it make more sense to you, even though it's a tougher race in theory, to go to the Classic and try it? He's already won the Dirt Mile, and why would they run him there again? That's my feeling.
Yeah, I agree. It's a win and you're in. And as you pointed out, and I think is a good point, race flow wise, they might think that, a horse like this may have an advantage. As far as goal oriented, Howard, unless they change the distance of the Classic, I wouldn't be thinking that's anyone's best hope to do anything except fold in the final furlong like he did in Ben Salem. Well, I mean, you saw the race Saturday, right? I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
It's a good horse, but he is not a 10 furlong Grade 1 winning horse.
Not now. He could be next year. I have a feeling.
He could certainly improve.
All right, let's go to last race. We really appreciate you watching. We have hundreds of people watching on many different platforms. Again, it's the HHH Racing Podcast. I'm your host, Howard Kravitz. This is Great Race Plays, a show every Wednesday night, 9:30 Eastern, talking about the Turf Pick 3 and the late Pick 3. The last race, guys. Whoa. This is a doozy. This is a really great race. It's a very difficult one. It is the John C. Harris. It's a Grade 3. They're going down the hill. It's for restricted 3-year-old fillies, $100,000, a massive field of 13. There are no AEs. It's actually main body 13. It's a completely wide open board. The morning line favorite, which I'm looking at for the very first time, actually, the morning lines, is the number 1, Warming, for Motion and Rispoli at 7-2. Let's see where we're going. I'm going 6-1-4. Gino's going 4-9-1. Paul's going 1-6-4. My good friend Paul. We have the same 3 in a 13-horse freaking field. And Ryan is going 6-5-4. My good friend Ryan is also going with Baffert on the turf and Kimura. Gino, you're going with my third choice and Paul's third choice and Ryan's third choice. Your first choice, though, Innovative, D'Amato, Ricky, 5-1.
Yeah, this horse is in really nice form right now. Innovative just won for the second time in her career at Del Mar, going a mile on August the 9th, was just sitting right behind horses inside, about a length and a half off, waited nicely, got room in the 2-path, outfinished Eiffel, the stablemate, who had a little bit of trouble that day. I just think this horse is going to be in a good spot, is going to be even fitter with more punch cutting back, type of horse who on paper I just like down the hill. And then I watch and look at the races and see, and obviously I think ran very, really well that day. So Innovative and then Eiffel were the two horses that I kind of had as my top two. And they both come out of that same race in August. Eiffel was a little disappointing last time out. She got caught in a race where there was no pace, and she was behind and kind of stuck down on the inside. So she didn't really get the race shape that she needed that day. Eiffel did have some legitimate trouble 2 starts back. If you look at some of the morning workouts, which they have on First.tv, and I don't really, they don't impact me as much for horses on the grass than they do for horses on the dirt. But this horse is seriously talented. And when you watch her in the mornings, like, she looks really good and she dusts whoever she's facing. She's going to go third start of the form cycle. I actually think she could be really interesting down the hill. She seems like the type of horse who has like one run in her. And I think going longer, maybe she gets flattened out and she doesn't have as much punch. So those are the top 2 for me. And then Warming, who I think is just sort of the shipper that they made the morning line favorite. She's coming out of some legitimate races. She had trouble last time out in a race where there was no passing whatsoever. Mayday Ready won that race on the front end. And then if you look at her 2 starts back, she's behind Fion and Nitrogen, some of the top fillies, some of the top 3-year-old fillies on turf and on dirt. Those are probably the top 2 right there on turf and then on dirt right now. So she's faced tough horses. She should get a really nice draw, and I think she'll come rolling late. She also ran really well sprinting in her first 2 starts, breaking her maiden, going 6 furlongs. So I think there's a lot to like about her. And Howard, very similar to the 8th race, there should be a few horses that are all kind of in the same range, like 3-1 to 5-6-1. You're probably going to have a 4 or 5 horses in that range.
Just for time purposes, I'm not going to show the replay of Warming. First of all, Gino, I thought Warming, who I have second, would be like 6-1. 7-2 for me is too low.
Yeah.
I counted 3 times she legitimately steadied. It was a complete nightmare trip. My only problem is, number one, she's going to be overbet because of the morning line and the trip. Number two, horses coming out of that Lake Placid have not come back very well. I just showed it a minute ago. So I have her second, but based on the morning line and just in second thinking, I'm not sure I'm going to use her quite as much as I normally would. But she's definitely a contender. Paul, you are going to go with Warming. And like I said, she's faced good horses. And Gino, she definitely had a lot of trouble. First time out west. But ships with intent for Graham, who I think is pretty good. I don't know if any of you guys have stats on Graham Motion at Santa Anita. If one of you guys can look that up, but I think it's actually pretty good. If I recall,
the last year, he's 5 for 15. So he's just sending horses out that are winning, and he won both of the graded stakes races at Del Mar, where he shipped horses out to win for the fillies and mares. So yeah, he just has a really good pulse on where his horses stack up when he comes out west.
Yeah, one of those was a South African. The name is escaped.
Give me another. They put on the front end. Yeah, I think it was Liguria, Heredia. Heredia was the other one, I think. Yeah.
Paul, anything else you want to add to Warming, your top pick?
Yeah, he's 20. That's a 23% wins at Santa Anita if you stretch it to 5 years. So he does. He is, he's another one of those guys who, would be in the Hall of Fame if they voted living humans in at any point. So, yeah, I was really torn. I almost picked the 6, and I'm not surprised to see you and Ryan both pick them. I went back and forth between the 1 and 6, and, I'm an East Coast snob, let's face it, an East Coast turf horse going west. I'm going to go with the Horace Greeley pick every time and take the East Coaster. But I agree with you about the Lake Placid and the horses coming back, but it at least I think it was a pretty good race. And as Gino brought out, that Belmont Oaks, that was a really legitimate race. So I think the horse is well situated, and Graham has proven, he can ship them with success, which is, not always the case.
I agree. I think this is I don't want to say legitimate step down in class, but I would say it's a good half step down in class for sure. Ryan, we're going with Castelou. I'm not a huge fan of Baffert on the turf in general. But obviously he's done it before with horses like De Jour and others. So it's not like he's not capable. My thought is twofold here. Number one, I think this horse is better going shorter. And number two, there's not a ton of early speed on paper. And when you have a 13-horse field down the hill, Ryan, I much prefer a horse that's tactical as opposed to a horse that's got to weave through 8-9 horses, coming off that down the hill. When they cross the dirt, weird things happen. It's just a tough ask for closers in general to me.
It is. I agree with that statement completely. Casala is kind of going to sit whatever trip that she wants to in a race like this, where she could make the front under Kazushi, or she could sit, but she's going to be forward. She can be tactical, and I'm with you. I'm not normally one to jump at the chance to bet Bob Baffert on the grass, but when he has a runner who's proven to win on the turf, time and time again, especially in stakes company, that's one that I'm going to look at a little bit closer. Even that second place finish in the San Clemente behind a horse Thought Process, who, maybe didn't run her best race in the Del Mar Oaks. That race was a bit of an outlier with Velocity winning that. Lush Lips, we can dive into that if we really wanted to. But Casalo can run on the grass, and 5-1 I think is very fair in a wide open betting race.
I'd much rather take 5-1 on Castelou than 7-2 on Warming. Just my opinion. Very quickly, last horse, then we'll get to our best bets. Again, normally this show is only going to be about 35 minutes. We're going long tonight because it's our first night. We had Gino and a lot of reasons. Those of you on the East Coast, especially Paul, we really appreciate you guys staying up as it's almost 10:30 live here on the East Coast. Thanks for staying up with us. Ryan, real quick, you got a long shot, Lee's Baby Girl, at number 5, 15-1. Talk about this horse for a second.
Yeah, so I was there for that 5 furlong win in the optional claiming event. This filly is massive. She dwarfed the rest of that field, and going 5 furlongs at Del Mar, that's a tough ask to do, especially if you're a big horse. Normally you think, maybe a little bit longer just so you can kind of get that stride under her. But she had a fantastic ride under Kazushi that day. She never really ran into trouble. She never had to stop. And she's a horse who's going to be forward again in here. And I think the down the hill is really going to help her because it's going to help her get into that stride a little bit quicker. And the 6.5, I think, is going to fit her a lot better than the 5. She finished that race so strong. I think this is a very logical step up. And Carla can have these horses ready, even for another step forward, not off the bench, but now second start of that form cycle. So she's one I want to throw in there because, again, she's going to be forward in a big field. And Howard, you were just mentioning that, weird things happen when they get to that dirt crossing. So I would like a horse that's not going to be in a bunch of trouble.
And these 2-year-olds are closer to 4-year-olds, some of them, especially if this is a big filly. Maybe she's a little further along than normal 3-year-olds. Gino, we're going to let you go for the evening, and then we'll talk about our actual ticket structures. Any final thoughts for the hundreds of fans listening and watching as we start Santa Anita on Friday? Of course, we're handicapping the Saturday card.
Big thank you for tuning in. Make sure you're paying attention to everything happening at Santa Anita this weekend. I think for me, one of the horses who I'm going to probably try to lean on a little bit in the late sequence will be the 5 Nevada Beach, who I like in a race where I think a lot of people are going to use those 2 shorter price horses. And that's a horse who could be offering us some really fair value. Love what you guys do. Ryan, you did a great job out at Del Mar this year. I'm always watching and listening on in the background while I'm handicapping and kind of seeing if there's a horse or two that you guys have that I don't, and I'll kind of throw them on my radar. And if anyone out there is interested, a really good background noise podcast is one that we just started, and it's different than what you guys are doing. It's the Off the Track podcast. It's not gambling or any specific handicapping. We just have guests on, jockeys, trainers, owners from the industry. They get to tell their whole stories. We've had some really cool guests. Kendrick Carmouche joined us, talked about his career. Katie Davis was another one. We recently talked with Terry Finley from West Point Thoroughbreds. And then the GOAT, when you talk about equine photographers, Barbara D. Livingston, we just talked with her all about some of the great shots that she's had through the years. So
if she doesn't win photo of the year for the
the one
Jockey Club picture,
right, when they're both on the 2 on the same horse, she had some great ones. So just it's a really cool one to put on in the background, and maybe you hear some stories about some of the names you see on paper. So Howard, cool. Ryan, Paul, anytime you guys need me to join you, I'm happy to help. And now I'm going to listen in and hear you guys have on your tickets.
All right. And let your son know we appreciate him jumping on as well, and your wife as well. And take care, Gino. I know you'll be on the show several times here for the fall meet and beyond. Take care. Have a good night, Gino.
Anytime you need. Good luck, guys.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye. All right, Gino Picola, guys. Let's go to our turf pick 3 and late pick 3. Again, this is 2 different bets. I'm going to put Paul on the screen. So everyone, again, the TP3 is obviously the $3 base turf pick 3, and then the late pick 3 is the last 3 races of the card. Paul's going to play a $6 ticket, so he's going to double up for $72 in the turf pick 3, 5-7 with 5-6 with 1-4-6, and then the $3 late pick 3, the last 3 races of the card, he's going 5-6 with 4-7 with 1-4-6, again doubling up. Quick thoughts, Paul, on your ticket structure on these 2 bets.
Yeah, I think you got to be obviously with a $3 base. It could get expensive, and you say, "Well, you doubled yours." But like the first leg is an example. We talked about maybe on paper it's a 2-horse race, but I think at some point you do have to zig when everyone zags. So I threw in Mondigo, Howard, the horse that we talked about a little bit. I think anytime it looks like it's a 1-horse race or a 2-horse race or even a 3-horse race, if you could get someone other than the horse that the majority of people are playing, that's when you're going to get value. And you got to risk being beaten by a 2-to-1 shot. So Stay Hot's going to be 5-2. Clearly has a good chance. You guys like him, but Mondigo I think might float even a little from 9-2. The other interesting thing about these 2 sequences is obviously you have the same race to end it. You have another race that's in both sequences. So you got to decide, do you want to just live and die with who you like, or do you want to spread it out among the 2 wagers? For tonight, I stuck with the horses I liked on both tickets.
Yeah, it's very interesting how people are going to play, and it does not take a 10-to-1 to get paid in this pick 3. In either pick 3, Ryan, you got a 9-2 beating a 6-5, and it really bumps up because there's only so many horses that you can use because of the base bet. And it's her pick 3. I love the single here. Love it, by the way. It's not what I'm doing, but I could have done what you're doing. You're singling Stay Hot, then you're going to go 2-6-8, with 4, 5, 6, a $27 bet. And then your late pick 3, you're going to go that same 2, 6, 8. Then you're going to single full Serrano with 4, 5, 6, another $27 bet, Ryan.
Yeah, that's right. I'm definitely going to press these two opinions. I'm 100% playing the pick 6, the $2 pick 6 as well, because I can, use both of these singles in there. But we'll focus on the turf pick 3 and the late pick 3.
Big shooter, Paul.
Because, I love all the bets out here on the West Coast. I'm a West Coast guy. But
who doesn't?
Stay hot. Yeah, again, I'm all on that horse. I'm against Gold Phoenix completely because, again, he's shown in the past 3 years that he takes a step down here. Again, maybe less of a regression, more of a stepping stone into the Breeders' Cup turf. I do like Mondigo. He's a little scary, but I have to take a stand somewhere. So I'm going to single Stay Hot to start off. I'll go into that very competitive down the hill in the Eddie D. Nessa's Last Hurrah, Beyond Brilliant, and First Piece. I'm hoping that none of those go off as the favorite. I hope that Yellow Card does. I'm pretty against Yellow Card, I would say. I feel like maybe I don't know. He's going to factor in the race without a doubt because he's talented, but I think he's very beatable. So I'm going to try and do that and pass up on him along with the rail horse whose name is Reef Runner, who, will have a new jockey, but I'm against that favorite as well. Last race, using 4, 5, 6, I'm against Warming, who is your morning line favorite. I feel like those middle three are going to be able to decide it with Kasalu and Lee's Baby Girl having some nice early speed, and then Innovative, who I didn't talk about much, but you guys like, and I like for a lot of the same reasons.
Yeah, I like Innovative in the last race also. Here's what I'm doing, and I could easily have gone singling Stay Hot. I want to use Mondego also. And I'm not using Gold Phoenix. If Gold Phoenix wins, I'll clap. I'll tip my cap. This is not a race he usually wins. And if he does it, he doesn't have a lot to beat, so he obviously can win. I just think he's definitely a play against. I'm going 5-6 with 4-8 with 1-4-6-9 in the turf pick 3. That's a $48 play. And then the last 3 races, the $3 pick 3, I'm going to go 4-8. I'm just going to chalk out with First Mission and full Serrano in the distance dirt race, and then 1-4-6-9 again for $48 in the last race. So I'm, as you said, Paul, I'm living and dying with 1-4-6-9 in that leg, and I'm living and dying with 4-8 in another leg. That's a crossover of the two. Guys, had a lot of fun. It's a really great sequence. Again, we really appreciate everyone watching. Check out our Power Pick tip sheet below the video player. Hit the subscribe button on YouTube. Again, if you're watching on X, please check out our YouTube channel. We've got shows almost every day of the week. We got a show tomorrow for Belmont and Aqueduct. We've got a live show called Weekend Warriors on Saturday that young man on the screen is hosting, and I will be a co-host as well. And this is definitely the time, Paul, to watch these races. And I'll let you finish out the show. Breeders' Cup is less than a month away. If you wait for a week left for the Breeders' Cup to start handicapping and looking at race replays, you've waited too long. Now is the time, if not even before, to really break down these Breeders' Cup prep races, watch them carefully, so that'll help you going forward.
Yeah, well, 5 weeks, just a little over a month, actually, right? But you got the right idea. Yeah, and I really think it's and I think the people watching us, I really think it's a compilation of what you see throughout the year. I would argue that, starting from zero right now is a tall task with 5 weeks to go. You're going to see a horse and say, oh, yeah, I remember seeing that horse at Saratoga. And then obviously going back and watch the replay. And, for me, it kind of jogs, you know what, I thought that horse ran well. Or, you know what, I didn't think he ran as well as it looks on paper. And I think that's the idea, is you want to kind of compartmentalize all those thoughts going into Breeders' Cup. I won't say week, fortnight, we'll say, as you try to make those decisions that, going to hopefully pay off on Happy Halloween.
Absolutely. We can't wait. Well, we wish everyone big success on Saturday at the Great Race Place. This has been episode 25 of Great Race Plays on the HHH Racing Podcast. And as we always say at the end of the show, this Saturday at Santa Anita, crush your bets. Take care, everyone. Have a great night. Bye-bye. This is a big
notes. If you have not followed his Triple H Horse Racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.